you asked 1,000 different people to name a rock song from the 1970s, you'd hear the same titles over and over. Not because people couldn't think of anything else, but because these songs didn't just play on the radio. They lived there, morning, noon, and night.
Smile like the sun, kisses forever.
On every station, in every car, in every bar, in every movie, these weren't just hits, they were inescapable. Today we're counting down the 10 most played rock songs of the 1970s, the ones radio grabbed onto and never ever let go. Stay with us, because the story behind number 1? Nobody saw it coming. Not the label, not the critics, not even the band that wrote it. Let's count them down.
Oh, mamma mia, mamma mia. Mamma mia, let me go.
Barracuda. Heart, we start not with a hit, but with a war cry.
Smile like the sun, kisses forever.
After a show in 1977, a promoter deliberately spread rumors suggesting Ann and Nancy Wilson were in a romantic relationship, a lie pushed purely for publicity by people inside their own industry. Ann Wilson went back to her hotel room that night, shaking with fury. Instead of making a phone call, she picked up a pen.
I saw you again today.
What came out was Barracuda. Here is what makes this song remarkable. Rage usually makes musicians sloppy. It makes people play too fast, write too loose, lose the precision that makes music genuinely dangerous. But Ann Wilson's anger did the exact opposite. It sharpened everything. Every word landed like a blade. Every note felt like a deliberate choice.
We were all trying for free.
Guitarist Roger Fisher built the opening riff deliberately targeting the weight and momentum of Led Zeppelin's Achilles' Last Stand. Not copying it, but distilling that crushing energy into something tighter, faster, and more aggressive. That riff doesn't ease you in. It hits you immediately, without introduction and without apology. Radio programmers didn't hesitate. It locked listeners in from the very first second. What kept Barracuda on rotation for decades was the truth burning underneath it. Once people understood what this song was really about, it became more than music. It became a declaration, a band refusing to be exploited, refusing to be packaged, refusing to stay silent about what the industry was doing to them. Every listener who had ever felt manipulated by someone in power heard their own story inside it. Radio never stopped playing Barracuda, not because it was comfortable, because it was completely dangerously honest.
Before we go on, can I ask you for a small favor? Only about 9% of the people watching this channel are actually subscribed. That means over 90% of you enjoy the videos, but haven't joined the family yet. And honestly, that part hurts a little. Because videos like this don't just appear. There are hours of digging through old records, researching artists, checking facts, cleaning audio, writing scripts, editing visuals, all to bring back memories and give these songs the respect they deserve. If this channel has ever helped you rediscover a song you forgot, if it ever made you smile, relax, or feel nostalgic, that's exactly why R&B on vinyl exists. So before we continue, take 1 second to hit subscribe. It's free, but it means everything to us. It tells YouTube this music still matters and that the work behind these videos is worth it. All right, let's get back to the music.
Number 9. Born to be Wild, Steppenwolf. Here is where rock music stops being entertainment and becomes a declaration of identity. Mars Bonfire, the brother of Steppenwolf's drummer, wrote this thinking about one single thing: movement, the open road, the restlessness of a generation that didn't know where it was going but refused to stay still. Now here is the fact that surprises everyone. Born to Be Wild was released in 1968, not the 1970s. And that is precisely what makes it the most interesting entry on this entire list, because no song from the actual decade dominated the 1970s the way a song from the previous decade did. Its real cultural earthquake didn't happen until it tore through a film that permanently changed American cinema. Director Dennis Hopper was editing Easy Rider using Born to Be Wild as a temporary placeholder while searching for the right music. But when he placed it against motorcycles cutting through the American desert with no destination and no rules, nothing else worked. The placeholder became permanent. The song didn't fit the film. It was the film. And buried inside those lyrics, almost casually, was a phrase nobody noticed at first: heavy metal thunder. At the time, it was simply a vivid image, a description of an engine's roar. But that phrase would eventually help name an entire genre that defined the next 30 years of rock history.
Heavy metal thunder.
Once Easy Rider gave Born to Be Wild its visual identity, radio couldn't separate them. Through the entire decade, it kept coming back, because it had stopped being a song and become a feeling. The feeling of escape, of motion. Of a generation that survived Vietnam, Watergate, and economic collapse and still refused to sit down. That is why a 1968 song owned the 1970s. And that is exactly what makes it belong on this list.
We can climb so high, I never wanna die.
8. Smoke on the Water, Deep Purple 4 notes. That is genuinely all it takes. Play those 4 notes anywhere on this planet, and someone will recognize them before you finish the second bar. But the story of how those 4 notes came to exist is one of the greatest accidents in rock history. December 4th, 1971. Deep Purple arrives in Montreux, Switzerland to record their album Machine Head. They've arranged to use the casino venue after Frank Zappa finishes his concert there that night. Then someone in the audience fires a flare gun into the wooden ceiling. One flare, one ceiling. The entire Montreux casino burns to the ground. Zappa's equipment, gone. Deep Purple's recording venue, ash.
Burn the place to the ground.
The band stood outside in the freezing cold, watching smoke roll thick across Lake Geneva below them. Bassist Roger Glover stared at the water, and 4 words arrived: smoke on the water. Deep Purple scrambled to find any space they could record in. Police kept shutting them down for noise complaints from nearby residents. They finished the album with cables running out of hotel windows to the mobile truck parked outside. Smoke on the Water was the very last song they recorded, an afterthought, a live documentary of everything they just survived. Set to the simplest riff Ritchie Blackmore had ever written. That riff is exactly why radio made it immortal. That level of raw simplicity, at that level of sheer power, is almost impossible to achieve deliberately. Every guitarist on earth learns it first, and every time it plays, it sounds exactly as massive as the very first day you heard it. Number 7, More Than a Feeling, Boston. This song took 5 years to finish, not because the band was struggling, because one man's heart was completely broken and he refused to share what he was building until it was ready. Tom Scholz was a graduate engineer from MIT. After a painful personal loss in the early 1970s, he retreated into his basement and built an entire recording studio from scratch. Inventing his own effects unit, the Rockman, because nothing on the market could produce the sound living inside his head. He poured 5 years of grief, precision, and obsession into that basement. Boston was essentially one man processing heartbreak through engineering until it accidentally became one of the best-selling debut albums in American history. That guitar tone, the shimmering, layered, perfectly chorus sound of More Than a Feeling, didn't come from a famous studio or a legendary producer.
I hide in my music, forget the day.
It came from a grieving man in a basement in Massachusetts who refused to stop until it sounded exactly like the feeling he was chasing. And here is what no amount of engineering can explain. What this song is actually about is something technology will never manufacture: the phenomenon of musical memory, the way a specific song physically transports you back to a moment that no longer exists. Scholz built a perfect machine to capture an imperfect, irreplaceable human feeling. Radio understood that immediately, because every listener who heard More Than a Feeling heard their own lost moment inside it. A song about nostalgia became the most nostalgic song on the radio, and it has never left.
And dream of a girl I used to know.
Number 6. Sweet Home Alabama, Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Well, I hope Neil Young will remember. What do you say, Jacksonville, Florida?
Here is something that will permanently change how you hear this song. That famous moment at the very beginning, "Turn It Up," was never supposed to be in the recording. Ronnie Van Zant was speaking directly to the sound engineer, asking for more volume in his monitor headphones. A private instructions between a singer and a technician that was never intended to stay in the final track. They kept it anyway. And those 3 words gave the song something almost no produced record ever achieves.
Lord, they give me all so much.
The feeling that you are hearing it happen in real time. Not polished, not distant, completely alive. Not one member of Lynyrd Skynyrd was actually from Alabama. Van Zant was from Jacksonville, Florida. Guitarist Ed King, who created that iconic rolling opening riff during a rehearsal, was from California. Van Zant wrote the lyrics as a direct response to Neil Young's criticism of the South. But what history always misses is that it was never a feud. Van Zant regularly wore Neil Young t-shirts on stage.
Sweet home Alabama.
Young later admitted his own lyrics had been too broad. What you are hearing in Sweet Home Alabama is not an attack. It is a conversation set to the greatest opening riff in Southern rock history. Radio played it everywhere because at its core this song isn't about a state. It's about belonging somewhere when the world has decided to look down on where you come from. Everyone understands that feeling. Everywhere.
Southern man don't need him around anyhow. Sing it, baby.
Number 5. Go Your Own Way, Fleetwood Mac Still Ahead. The song whose writer refused to explain its meaning to a single person alive, ever. And that silence is the exact reason it never left radio. That story is coming at number 1. But first, the strangest thing about Go Your Own Way is that it doesn't sound like a breakup. It sounds like control. Lindsey Buckingham wrote it during the collapse of his relationship with Stevie Nicks, but instead of sounding wounded, it sounds surgical, deliberate. One line in particular, "Packing up, shacking up is all you want to do," Nicks later said was simply not true. It never happened that way, but the line stayed. And then Buckingham made her sing it. Every single night on tour, Stevie Nicks stood at a microphone and harmonized on accusations she privately called a complete lie. She did it because the band came first. Rumors was recorded while 2 couples simultaneously fell apart inside the same band.
You can call it
Nix and Buckingham had just split. Christine McVie was divorcing bassist John McVie. 5 people walking into the same studio every day. All bleeding, all professional, all turning private devastation into public art. The album sold 40 million copies worldwide. Go Your Own Way lit the fuse. Radio held it for decades because that tension, 2 people telling opposite truths about the same relationship, never grows old. Every single listener has lived some version of it. Number 4, Freebird, Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Well, I must be traveling on.
Some songs become hits. Others become something people carry inside them for the rest of their lives. Alan Collins worked on the music for Freebird for 2 full years before Ronnie Van Zant would even consider adding words to it. Van Zant dismissed it every single time. So Collins and Gary Rossington kept playing it at every practice, night after night, week after week, wearing Van Zant down through sheer relentless persistence. Then one evening, Van Zant said, "Play it again." Rossington called Van Zant lying down on the couch while the guitar filled the room and simply starting to write. The words came fully formed. "If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me?" The label called it too long. Radio programmers agreed. The band refused to cut a single second because Freebird is 2 completely different songs fused together. A devastating ballad about the loneliness that freedom costs, followed by one of the most ferocious guitar outros ever committed to tape. After the 1977 plane crash that killed Ronnie Van Zant, the song became something far greater than a rock anthem. For a period, Johnny Van Zant couldn't bring himself to sing it. The band performed it as an instrumental while thousands in the crowd sang every single word from memory. That is not a radio song. That is a song that became part of people's lives. Radio just had the privilege of carrying it there. Number 3, Hotel California. Eagles' Don Felder wrote the guitar demo on a simple cassette, arpeggiated chords over a drum machine. He didn't think much of it. Just another sketch passed around the band. Don Henley heard it driving through Los Angeles at night. He pulled over, sat in the dark, listened again, and knew. Here is the detail nobody ever talks about. When it came time to actually record the song, Felder had completely forgotten what he'd played. The cassette was back at his Malibu home. He called his housekeeper, had her find the tape, hold a phone receiver up to the speaker, and play the demo down a crackling phone line all the way to a studio in Miami. Felder then had to learn his own composition note for note from that distant, distorted recording. Felder himself never believed radio would touch it. 6 minutes long, a 1-minute intro, the song stopping completely in the middle. Then a 2-minute guitar outro no programmer in their right mind should keep unedited. Radio kept every single second, because Hotel California wasn't a song, it was a place.
69, and still those voices are gone.
An atmosphere, an entire emotional world, the seduction of success, the glamour, the hollowness waiting on the other side of it. Over 32 million copies sold. Radio never stopped, because every time it plays, it feels like arriving somewhere you've been before, but can never quite remember.
Stab it with their stealing knives, but they just
2. Bohemian Rhapsody, Queen 6 minutes, no chorus, 3 completely different songs forced together. Every executive who heard it delivered the same verdict: this will never get airplay. They were spectacularly wrong.
I'm just a poor boy.
Freddie Mercury walked into Rockfield Studios on August 24, 1975 with the entire song already constructed inside his head. He directed every session like a conductor. Mercury, Brian May, and Roger Taylor sang their vocal parts for up to 12 hours a day. 180 separate overdubs layered until the recording tape became nearly transparent from being run over the head so many times. When the label heard the finished track, they panicked. Too long, too strange, too operatic, completely unplayable. Then DJ Kenny Everett got a copy and played it on his London radio show.
Oh, mamma mia, mamma mia. Mamma mia, let me go. Mia.
Then played it again. Then 12 more times across a single weekend. Listeners flooded the phone lines. It went to number 1 in the UK and stayed there for 9 consecutive weeks. It has now been streamed over 1.6 billion times, the most streamed song of the entire 20th century. But the real reason Bohemian Rhapsody never left radio is this.
Sparing his life from this monstrosity.
Freddie Mercury never once explained what the lyrics meant. Not in a single interview. Not ever. He deflected every question and took the answer with him. So every listener created their own meaning. Some heard confession. Some heard metaphor. Some heard a man saying something true he couldn't say any other way. Nobody agreed. Nobody ever finished with it. People kept returning, trying to understand something that was never meant to be understood, only felt. Number 1, Stairway to Heaven. Led Zeppelin Jimmy Page began writing this alone in a cold Welsh cottage with no electricity and no band.
Get what she came for.
Just an acoustic guitar and complete silence. The chords arrived in pieces across months. When the band gathered at Headley Grange in Hampshire to record in early 1971, Page played the developing arrangement while Robert Plant sat beside a fireplace holding a pencil and paper. Plant later described what happened in almost mystical terms. His hand simply began writing as though the words were arriving from somewhere entirely outside himself. He didn't construct the lyrics. They came to him. The label wanted a single immediately. Page refused without hesitation. His exact words, Stairway to Heaven, was never, ever going to be released as a single. He wanted it heard as a complete album journey.
There's a feeling I get.
Led Zeppelin went further. They released the entire album with no band name anywhere on the cover. Just 4 symbols, pure absolute defiance of every commercial expectation the industry held. Critics destroyed it on arrival. One called it a thicket of misbegotten mush. A British magazine said it caused first boredom, then catatonia. Plant himself later acknowledged, if you absolutely hated Stairway to Heaven, no one can blame you because it was so pompous. And yet by the year 2000, it had accumulated over 3 million radio plays. It became the single most requested song in FM radio history throughout the entire 1970s, with no single release, no promotional campaign, no commercial push of any kind. The sheet music became the best-selling piece of rock music ever printed, over 1 million copies sold. In 2023, the Library of Congress selected it for permanent preservation as a cultural treasure of the United States. 8 minutes and 2 seconds, no single. Critics dismissed it, the label fought it. Radio played it more than any other rock song of the decade, because Stairway to Heaven was never built to be a hit. It was built to be true, and truth doesn't need promotion. It finds its own way into every car, through every pair of headphones, across every generation that hears it for the very first time and stops whatever they are doing just to listen. Some songs follow the rules of radio. This one rewrote them entirely. And 50 years later, nobody has come close to writing them better. These 10 songs didn't just dominate a decade, they outlived it.
to heaven. There's a sign.
Right now, one of them is playing somewhere, on a highway, through headphones at 2 in the morning, in a room where someone is hearing it for the very first time, with absolutely no idea what is about to change inside them. That is what separates music from everything else. It doesn't age, it waits. Which one on this list still stops you completely every single time it comes on? Drop it in the comments right now. I read every single one. And if this video took you somewhere you needed to go today, you already know what to do.